Welcome back. We are here with our full spoiler review.
Spoiler.
The Batman. Let me say right here, right now, we are, if you haven't seen this movie, pause this video, go see the movie, come back, resume playing. We're not going to tell you to go away. We want you to stay. But if you hadn't seen it, we're going to ruin it. So I don't want to ruin nothing. Spoilers ahead. That is your warning. Um, we are talking about, for first of all, we are Grown A Geeks. I am Sam. That is Dunesia. We are doing our spoiler review on the new 2022 The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. Uh, we got Pattison in the house. Robert Pattinson coming in as Batman, Bruce Wayne Batman. Yeah, that's we could kind of start there. Got a great cast.
We
We
can
could
start
open with that. Got an all-star cast.
there.
We got Jeffrey Wright, we got Zoe Kravitz, we've got Colin Farrell. We have some surprise people in the movie because I didn't even know that they were going to be in it. And then I saw it, and we got John Turturro in the movie, and I was really pleased with John Turturro's performance.
Yes,
We'll
absolutely. He was
we will
definitely a
dive into
great
that in a
spot.
bit. But yeah, everything I got, and all credit to Paul Dano.
Hmm.
Paul Dano as the Riddler. So, um, yeah, we're going to cover a few things that we thought about the movie. This is going to be our in depth analysis here. We're going to discuss the good, we're going to talk about the bad. Then we're going to get into what we like the most or the least. That's going to kind of be our ugly segment. And then we'll give you just, a basic idea of final score and how we rated it and our recommendations and such. So let's start off on a high note.
Yay.
Let's talk about the good. And I've already stated I thought the casting for this movie was actually very, very good.
The casting was absolutely great. I think Robert is going to surprise some people. I think he did what the character called for, and he was great to play that in this role. My good is definitely we got back to Batman being a detective. I really enjoyed that. It really was honed in on like he knows stuff. He's able to put stuff together very quickly, with the riddles and just things he was able to just combine. So I did enjoy that we got back to Batman being a detective and not just beating up people that
He's not just a great fighter.
Yeah. So
That he actually uses some intellect, and it's funny because there's a nice little play on it later, but he's referred to as the world's greatest detective.
yes.
And we get to see some different elements, and it was a lot of tech infused kind of investigation. He had the black light at one point,
Hmm.
and he's looking at things that other people might overlook, and he's able to analyze, like you said, on the spot, and see things. I got those. So with the Riddler cards and them having the little questions in there and him having to answer it right away, I got the Adam West 1966 vibes from that. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, when is a person
Yes.
like da da da, like what's the first where he's like, what happens to a liar when he dies? He lies still.
Still, yeah, I was
And
like,
it's like, that's a really clever riddle,
yeah.
but the way he like comes to realize it, like he's thinking about it, you can see the wheels are turning in his head. But I had those, let's see, chum. So we know that this is the Riddler and
Yeah.
he's trying to get us. So what does a liar do? Well, a liar lies. Exactly. And if he's dead, he can't lie anymore. So what would he do? Well, he wouldn't do anything. Exactly. So he would lie still.
Still. Yeah.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is the greatest detective ever. Because, and that was kind of how it felt, because you're watching him go through these crime scenes, and it's like watching an episode of Sherlock or something where
Yes.
everyone else in the room sees it but can't put it together, and you're
The
watching him
thumb
put it together
drive, they definitely made him the smartest person in the room.
without a doubt.
Even in the first crime scene where he walked over and kind of saw the thing, and you see the photographer come over, and then all of a sudden she takes a picture of it, like, oh, like I didn't really catch that type of thing. So
Right.
but yeah, the thumb drive, putting that together, because when he said that, when he looked at Jeffrey Wright and he's like, I'm looking for a thumb drive, and I was like, why would he be looking for and I was like, kind of gross, but
Thumb
very
drive.
cool.
It's just like, the delivery on that. But yeah, I mean, even right down to the cipher and recognizing like this guy doesn't make mistakes. So we're missing something
Yeah.
if we're going about it that way. So in terms of the other parts of the good being the casting, Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant Gordon, not Commissioner Gordon, but as Lieutenant Gordon, because this is still early on in the Batman franchise. This is heavily inspired by a number of comics, but one of them being Batman Year One,
Mm-hmm.
and we find out that this is in fact 2 years into him being Batman. He has
They
like
make
a
sure he's only been Batman for 2 years. They
kind
make
of like
sure
that monologuing, and it's something about you have to with the character of Batman, because he ends up being Batman for so long. They have to reference at what point in his career we are,
Mm-hmm.
because all I could think was like, when you go back to some of the DCEU Batman, it's like 20 years in Gotham, 20 years in Gotham. He just has to keep saying that so that
Yeah.
you know how burned out he is. You know what I'm saying? How tired he is of this. Versus now it's like he's still got that chip on his shoulder. Like
Yes.
this is where the chip is forming. It's just now getting on his shoulder for the first time.
But you see him really trying to understand what part he plays, how he can really make a difference, understanding whether or
Right.
not he's even making a difference. So they definitely dealt with that. And they had to, because he is a new Batman. So it's like, what am I doing? And it's definitely heavier based on people really thinking he's a vigilante. He's not a good person. I mean, we have that anyway as he gets older, but it's more like 80-20, where where eventually it gets to like 60-40. So yeah.
At best, it's 60-40. But this is, this is one of those scenarios where he is just Batman. He is just a guy trying to do something because he can.
Yeah.
And for no other reason. And that's hard for even people in the film to like really accept. And they do really truly view it as what you're doing is not right. You're tainting the crime scene. He's not a police officer. This is like this is investigate like, and it's question like, why are you letting this person here? This
That was
person,
Jeffrey
he's not
Wright's sole purpose, to be like, he's okay.
to give him access
That
to
was-
places he couldn't go otherwise.
Forget chain of custody. Jeffrey Wright's here. We'll just do whatever. So that was his main
That was his
part.
you know what? And I kind of felt like this is where Felix from all the James Bond movies with Daniel Craig, this is where he retires, because he was like, my man, he's with me. Like it was the same kind of Felix vibes. And so it was, but it's still Jeffrey Wright, and just him on screen, his presence just adds some sort of legitimacy to anything. And I think Jeffrey Wright, I look forward to seeing him do more as Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
I think
I actually wasn't that impressed with him.
And that's why I say like there's room for him to do more. But it's just something about Jeffrey Wright's presence. Like it's Jeffrey Wright, and just naturally I want to be excited because it's Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's he could do more.
He can definitely do more, but
he'll be commissioner one day.
Yeah, like he has to grow into, because he's just now realizing how corrupt Gotham PD is, so he has to really grow into that and become Commissioner Gordon. So there's definitely room for that. Yeah.
And I think that'll build, and so we'll get more of that. John Turturro was fantastic.
I was super excited to see him.
Fantastic.
Oh God, he was so creepy, so menacing. And he really we didn't really see him do much. But just that first interaction with Zoe, and like the way he touched her, like it was creepy, and you didn't know why. And then when you find out later why, you're like, oh, like it just.
Yeah, that almost made it worse. Like,
yes.
Like that almost made it worse. Like it would have been better if it was what we thought it was.
Yeah.
Because when we find out what it is, you're kind of like, You know,
Which I guess we can say since this is a spoiler.
this is the spoiler. You find out he's the dad. You're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
just
that's gross.
extra creepy.
But I'm
Like
like, the
you,
fact that we listened to him kill her roommate, we didn't even see it, we just heard it.
yeah.
Like
And it was still
chills.
so menacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so John Turturro, I really liked his turn. Andy Serkis as
Ugh.
Pennyworth.
I could throw that away. I wanted more. I love Andy Serkis, so I know he can do more with that. But to me, it was kind of just a throwaway character. They tried to make him important with the cipher and everything, but it was just like, would Alfred really open a package that looked like that? Like knowing his history, like would he really just look at something and just would he just really open a bomb like that? Because it might be 2 years of Batman, but Alfred ain't. He ain't
Yeah,
2 years
Alfred
of
wasn't
being
new. I mean,
Alfred.
and he was clearly like, he was thinking back to his working days, which is
Yeah.
what how he referred to it. And it was obvious that he was either some kind of like heavy duty bodyguard. And if we're going with some of the like Batman Earth One comic or Pennyworth, or any of these other number of stories where they've actually made Alfred like a real badass from,
Super badass.
you know what I'm saying? Like they have that and they kind of present that and they don't lean too heavily on that. Because one thing about this movie's called The Batman, and that's all you get for just
Mhm.
about 3 hours is the Batman and some people around him, but it's mostly the Batman.
Yeah.
Um,
But they stayed true to Alfred being his conscience and,
yeah,
trying to make him human and back
and
down to
they really leaned into the surrogate father. I won't say
Mhm.
father figure or adoptive parent, but like like the stand-in.
Yeah.
And they touched on it directly,
Hmm.
which I thought was done really well. And the interaction between the two of them, the relationship they had, you see that it's a tough one,
Yeah.
but it's one still built on like with respect, and that there is genuine love there.
Yeah.
Because when when Alfred got hurt, you you could tell that Pattinson, you could tell Bruce Wayne was sitting there in the hospital for days,
Yeah.
and that it was like the moment he woke up, he was going to be there for him. And so that was good, and that was touching, and that
Yeah.
without
Even
making the
that
story
moment where he was
too
trying to
heavy,
call him, that panic, that like you felt, like I felt panic when he was trying
right?
to. I'm like, is he gonna answer? He's gonna. So he did good in that moment for sure.
Yeah, and we had a couple other faces that pop up here and there that were enjoyable, but I think for me, these two, they made this movie good. Zoe Kravitz and Paul Dano.
Paul. Okay.
They made this because Robert Pattinson as Batman, that could almost fall. I liked his portrayal because it was an honest version of
Hmm.
a person trying to be a Batman.
Yes.
And that's the best way to say it. And I want to say that again so people really catch what I'm saying there. This was an honest portrayal of a person trying to be a Batman.
Hmm.
This is as close as you could do it without having that fantasy element that exists in Batman movies. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? In the Joel Schumacher, in the Tim Burton, there was still that element of fantasy that made Batman larger than life. Where this dude gets hit a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's just because he's like really taking the time to. This is like John Wick in a better suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he's like taking those hits, but he's still putting them out. And he's putting out more hits than he's taken, which is why he's winning. Not because he's just so good no one can touch him, because he got touched a lot.
A lot, a lot.
You know what I'm saying? But he still was able to do more damage. And those moments where it's like, yeah, after that fight, how was you do? No, okay. Oh, he passed out for 5 minutes. Cool, cool. I needed to see him like just kind of pass out
Yeah.
because he should have been dead. So how is he not? He took a moment. Okay, cool. That makes sense. He should probably take a moment there. But Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano. Paul Dano was just genuinely psychotic.
Yes.
He gave me some real good, I don't know if that's the right term, but like I truly believe that that man was disturbed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was sociopath, psychopath, serial killer. He had issues.
And I liked him because he did the thing that we talk about with villains. Like, was he wrong? I don't know. Towards the end, yeah, that was a little messed up, but was he really wrong? And I think anytime a villain can do that, it's a great villain. When you really think about what he was doing and why he was doing it and what he was trying to accomplish, you're like, method's a little crazy, yeah, but was he wrong?
I think what made his character, his version of Riddler worked so well because he is everything that Robert Pattinson's Batman was.
Mm-hmm.
They were the same. Literally, they were the same character.
Yes,
Their
which is why.
ideology, their 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 reason for doing it was different,
Mm-hmm.
but they had the same goal.
Yeah,
They
which is
had the
why they
same
had that
mission.
moment at the end where, the Riddler's follower, that's why he said, I am vengeance. This is what my vengeance looks like.
Right.
And
And
you have that moment with Robert Pattinson going, oh shit.
wait,
Like,
that's my thing. That's
that's
what
what I'm
is
doing.
that how you guys see me?
And then some of the kills, Batman really didn't have a problem with it. He was just kind of like, kind of got what he deserved. I mean,
Well, I mean, he was. It's not like he was a good guy.
yeah,
Like, well, I mean, but damn, like,
yeah,
hey, I'm
yeah,
just saying, if he wasn't a criminal, he
yeah,
wouldn't have been there.
yeah.
If he wasn't a criminal, he wouldn't. And that was very much that the scene where they come back and Riddler's in Arkham and he's asking for the Batman. The Batman shows up, and actually, to clarify that, he puts those little cards that say to the Batman, to the Batman, to the Batman. And every time he figures out a clue, ultimately he ends up just doing what Riddler wanted done.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, where is actually inside of a cage with a bat. And so he has to reach in there to grab that one out. He gets that one out. And it's like, come see me. And he's like, oh, I guess you weren't as smart as I thought you were, which is for me, that was, I was like, okay, he did the thing. He's smarter, And so it's like when they're having that conversation, he's explaining to him, like, we're on the same side. We're partners. Like, we did this. We cleaned up the corruption. And for a moment, you're kind of like, damn, y'all are kind of the same.
Yes, they are. And
Y'all are,
Batman didn't stop any of the murder. He didn't stop anything.
like, you didn't save nobody.
No.
In fact, everything you did made all this even happen.
Yes.
You know what? It probably would kind of look like you was in cahoots to anybody else.
You brought him to the light.
And of course, like, it was funny because he's sitting there and he's looking up at the camera and he's just like, I'm nothing like you. No, we're not working together. You didn't do anything for me. I'm not helping you. And I'm just like, yeah, if they watching this, it's looking pretty bad for you right now. It's very damning. And I really thought that, like, I had that same kind of tension. He's like, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
That was that psychotic break. And that moment where he realizes he's like, he's the only one we didn't get. And then Pattinson's like, yeah.
Sitting there in the room looking at all the stuff. I'm like, nobody else see this on the wall. Nobody else? Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
That's right. You didn't get one.
That's interesting.
You didn't get this person who I've never met before or know nothing about. So yeah. What'd you say his name was? Bruce what? Yeah. Get him. Selena Kyle, Zoe Kravitz.
Very
I
good.
could just watch 3 hours of her. But realistically, like, she was an amazing Catwoman.
I thought she was a great Catwoman for sure.
She was an amazing
Sexy
Catwoman
without not being like that Halle Berry overtly trying to be sexy. I mean, she just was. She was beautiful. She was commanding. She can handle her own. I didn't feel their chemistry was so matched, but whatever. They're both going through a lot, but she was definitely a great Catwoman, and the
and I
scenes of her fighting look real. It looked great. I mean, it was plausible. It looked good.
she looked like she could handle her business. She looked
Hmm.
like she could do some damage. She looks like the anti-hero Catwoman that you expect
Yes.
from comics and animated films, not the oh, I'm a burglar, Anne Hathaway,
Yeah.
And that's not to take anything from Anne. She's a great actress. That might not have just been the best thing for
That
her.
was definitely not the best thing for her.
Uh, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like her big thing was she was a burglar. That was it. You know what I'm saying? That's all she could bring. We're not going to talk about other people who said Catwoman. We know, you know what? Actually, we are going to talk about that. We got a whole damn video where we talked about Catwoman. Like, what the hell? Why did I watch that? Go check that out.
Please go check that out.
But we're not going to deep dive with her right now. But I think like she was a strong, independent, capable, commanding character.
Yes.
And Zoe Kravitz brought all of those elements to her performance. And she, without a doubt, falls on the side of good. One of the best things of this movie. I think between her and Paul Dano, you almost could have put anybody else as the Batman. You almost could have put anybody else as Lieutenant Gordon.
Yes.
And you still could have had a good, entertaining movie.
Absolutely.
Because their performances were that strong. And
Colin Farrell. Holy,
you know what?
Like, I kept trying to go, that's Colin Farrell. Like,
I guess that's why I can't even say Colin Farrell, because I'm like, I don't know who that cat was, but that boy was good. I liked him.
Wow.
Wait, that was Colin Farrell? You know what? That was like that was Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. That was Tom Cruise.
That was
in
about to say
Tropic
that was
Thunder.
Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. Like,
that was one of those things where like you're not really sure who that person is, but that person's good. And then when you find out late, because it's like there's only like one, maybe two scenes where you can even kind of a little bit see Colin Farrell. Outside of that, it's just Oz Copperbot.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing Colin Farrell-esque in this role. He completely sunk into it. And he had one of the best lines, I think, in the movie where he's like, am I the only one that knows their Spanish? The world's greatest detectives, you two. I was like, he did. They said the thing.
That whole scene with him and Jeffrey Wright and Batman, like, great comedic timing. Like, they had great chemistry in that moment. That was good. That was a good scene. It was nice and something funny for once, but yeah.
And something good that kind of led up to this scene. I wish they had done it just slightly different, just a few little things different. But damn, that Batmobile. I was really
dope. And it was
I was
real.
really liking that Batmobile. That looks like something you might see at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yes.
On a good hot Sunday afternoon.
And to a young Batman.
Exactly. Not some random discarded military grade tank that was just lying around in a warehouse.
Yeah.
I was very pleased that it looked like somebody had a hot rod and they strapped a rocket to the back of it.
And it was menacing and it was dark and it was scary because when he was sitting there revving the engine.
Yeah.
Like you felt Colin Farrell like, okay, he left the money. He's like, I'm gone.
Right.
He couldn't even wait for them to get the money out.
And that thing was loud. Like,
yes.
Oh, it was so aggressive. And it was just like, yeah, that was dope. That whole little chase scene, they could have edited that a little bit better. And just that chase felt a little long for the action we got out of it.
Yeah.
But.
And I wish that hadn't been in the trailer. I wish that moment would have been in the movie when he went through the fire. Yeah. That moment in the movie theater would have been a lot more grandiose had it happened just in the movie. But since you knew it was coming, it was still cool, but it wasn't the effect that it could have had because
it would have had, I genuinely believe that it would have had a legitimate theater applause reaction.
Yes.
Had it not been in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because in my viewing, when I went to see it, there was still a noticeable rumble at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
People were definitely liking that scene, that moment, and it was hype. And I have to say, like, I'm really struggling where to put Robert Pattinson as Batman. I know you don't want to put him in the good. I want to put him at the very bottom of right
No,
above the
it's
bad.
not that I don't want to put him in the good because, like I said, I think for what they were doing with this movie, what they were doing with this character, what they were doing with this kind of Batman, he fit for sure. This
He was
emo,
definitely
I don't
damaged
know where I
goods.
belong. I don't know what I'm doing. Did I wash my hair? I don't know. He fit that
He was
for sure.
definitely going through, like, his therapy was beating people up.
Yes.
That was his therapy. And of course, it's one of those things that's always been discussed with Batman, how he's just, he's still traumatized. He's a sociopath. He doesn't really know how to interact with other people because he never got the help he needs.
Yeah.
All that money and he didn't fix the simplest thing he could have fixed. Instead, he decides to, and that's the part of this movie that I think is so brilliantly done. You have this character of the Riddler. You see what happens when someone loses everything and goes off the deep end and how it affects them. Well, here's somebody who had everything and still went off the deep end, and look at
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing. The only difference between them is the Riddler will kill you and Batman will just maim you.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if
Unless he's hopped up on an EpiPen.
right, which was green, by the way. I was getting Venom vibes, like he juiced up for that moment. And because I was like, okay, that's a pure shot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And to watch it, because and again, just the realism in this movie, the way that they grounded this character and made it such a human capable character. They took all the fantasy out,
Yeah.
and this everything that we saw him do is like shit that people can do
Yeah. There
tomorrow.
was nothing that he did that you're like, mm,
Yeah. And
nobody can
even
do that.
sometimes when he didn't do it right and fucked up and slammed into the bridge and the bus and the
Oh, that
wall.
was hilarious. Everybody was laughing. I was like, I don't know if we're supposed to be laughing, but that was, in that moment, I was like, wow, because you're like, is he really going to make this jump? Like, no. Okay. When he fell, you're like, yep. Okay. That's good. And him like trying to walk it off, like, that's real.
Right. Like
That's
he got up
real.
and he kind of limped off and he was like, okay, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna just sit right here for a second. Like I said, it was a very realistic portrayal, and I think Robert Pattinson did a very good job of bringing that broken individual who just gets through it
Yeah.
and is relentless and doesn't give up, and when he finds an opportunity to have an outlet, he takes advantage of it, and he
Fully.
enjoys beating these criminals up.
Yes, he does.
Um, anything else just stand out to you as a good?
I do like that the story was different. I did appreciate that. Like we kind of got a genesis of a Batman, but not really. But it was a different way of telling his story, even with his parents, what they did there, with their background and them not being all wholesome and all sweet and all those things. And
We
the
found
way
out some
they
things about Martha Wayne, didn't we?
yeah, right. And the way that they introduced, Falcone and Maroni and like it was a different kind of story. Like it was familiar but different how they did it. So I did enjoy that.
A
Um,
very classic noir tale. I mean, this movie could have been called Batman: Sins of the Father,
yes.
and I think that would have been just as fitting if this was a graphic novel. That would be the name of this graphic novel,
Hmm.
and it would be
Absolutely.
a
Because that's what
year,
it came down to.
and that it would be a year two story, and I think it fits right there. And it's one of the better Batman stories, and it combines a lot of elements, like like I was kind of saying before. You've got Long Halloween, Court of Owls, Year One, Earth One, um, And it's like somebody went through and found like the top 10 Batman stories and jumbled it all together. Because much like Long Halloween, where you have the holiday killer,
Mm-hmm.
this story takes place. It starts on Halloween and it ends like November 6th, November 7th. Then was a tough couple of days,
Yeah.
and it's very much how Long Halloween goes. But Long Halloween takes place over a course of a couple of holidays, but it has the same idea that like somebody is killing big important people, and
And we gotta figure
everybody's
out why.
caught in the grasps of
Mm-hmm.
fear,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a really well done story. And I like giving Riddler his due. I like Riddler being menacing, being a bad guy, and not just being a joke.
Yeah.
Because
Not
a lot of
campy.
times they play him up to just like leave question mark puzzles and, you know, ha 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 ha, I'm the Riddler. And, and it's like, no, he got like a full scarecrow treatment from like the games. Like this dude, maybe
He's
not the kind of
joking
guy
with
you
the
want to pick
purpose.
on.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe not the kind of guy you want to pick on.
Yeah. Definitely. Because even on the TV series, Edward Nigma, the way they kind of did him, he was, still kind of a joke even after he became the Riddler. But this one was like, these some jokes, but they not funny. And you better
The
watch out.
joke's on you.
Yes.
Like that's how it
I
goes.
enjoyed that they made the relationship between him and Catwoman make sense. Their bond. It wasn't something sexual that kind of brought them together. Like it was really, we're both trying to figure out what's going on. I need you to help me find my friend. We need to fight these injustices. So I like how they brought them
My
together.
hurt and your hurt
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
And they
Versus
are
you're hot, I'm hot. We should just build up some sexual tension.
right. And honestly, it's like it can't even say it's there, but I'm not gonna pretend like you ain't fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because there was a whole moment where it looked like, Bruce Wayne was willing to risk it all. My man was thinking about it real
At the
hard for a
end,
second.
he
Like,
was. That left
um,
turn was coming.
you sure? Well, I know you're leaving. You sure you don't want to stay?
Yeah.
Like, you're asking me to go with you. How about you stay? We could do that. And you definitely feel like she's gonna be like, next time I'm back in Gotham, I'll give you a run. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be just down the street in Bloodhaven if you ever find yourself
Here's
over
my
this
address.
way.
Here's my
You know,
Facebook and my Twitter.
right? Like, just look me up. I'll put your sign up in the sky.
Yeah.
Um, music. The music was
The
fitting and
music was good.
appropriate and menacing, and I like that real dissonant sound. Had that same kind of those deep, hard flats like Jaws, like da da
Mm-hmm.
da da, like that. Like it was just when you
Very
heard that,
inception-esque.
you knew something was happening right there.
Yeah.
So it definitely holds your attention. Um, Somehow this movie managed to be PG-13.
And I had my friend ask me if she should take her kids, and I was like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can't speak to a reason why. I don't think I would take my younger kids if I had some, but I was like, I
I
couldn't
did
tell
notice.
why.
I did notice little things like a surprising amount of violence was implied.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of off-screen violence. So it's almost like if your 13-year-old is looking up saying airplane, you could take him. He's not gonna catch the subtext.
Mm-hmm.
You got one of them sharp ones, he's gonna
They'll
pick
get
up
it.
on everything.
Yeah.
And know exactly what's going on. And he'll be able to read that sexual tension and understand how he was the father and know why, like when we were talking, the way he touched her face, like he's going to get why that looks weird.
Yeah. And then there's the drug use with the drops, and we kind of see it, but you kind of don't. Like, I mean, there was a lot of just ambiguous things that kind of
Right.
would make it not okay for a kid, but I guess so. I don't know.
But it wasn't, but at the same time, it honestly wasn't, surprisingly, it wasn't hard R. Like it wasn't, there was very little visual blood.
Mm-hmm.
There was very little, like I don't recall seeing anybody actually die. Like think about it. You know that person died because of what happened, but you did not see the violence.
Yeah, because the guy with the rat, that was implied. We never saw that picture that they showed of how he looked. The
It's like,
one that
oh,
got
why
his head
show that to
blown
you?
up. We didn't see that. We just saw the explode. You're right. I didn't think about that.
And so it's like it's a lot of implied violence,
Yeah.
and you know that it's dark, and because the rest of the movie already has you so drawn into this world of it being dark and dirty and gritty, and that's typical for a Batman Gotham kind of thing. I think Schumacher was the only one who had like colorful, but this is like honestly, the bat suit has mud on it, dirty.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it is really like it's raining and it's dark.
It's always damn raining.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like that's why everybody got them so stressed out and pissed
Yeah,
because they
that
have
is
horrible
literally
weather.
why, because it's raining and it's
They have
dark.
horrible weather, a terrible infrastructure, apparently. Um, it's a lot of
Speed
things.
trucks blowing it up. It's gone. Yeah.
Right. That could actually kind of take me into some of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I've played all of the Arkham series Batman games, and I like how they went about doing what they did, but I feel like they rushed it by putting it in this movie. I think everything once the rug was pulled back, that should have been where the movie stopped.
That would have been a great place to stop.
I think that would have been like amazing because you've got him locked up and he's away in Arkham. You've just had that conversation. He comes back to the apartment. Now he's getting a little bit of respect from that officer who wasn't respecting him before. You know what I'm saying? And he's got that I've saved the day kind of thing. He pulls that rug back and you see deet, 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 and you know what that means based on the man. Like right there, boom.
You could
Fade to black, roll credits.
Yeah.
What? Oh my God. Like, and that would have just had it. That would have left us with so much anticipation for what else there could be.
But they had to do that because they had to have the moment at the end where he's saving people that I'm not even really sure needed help that were stuck in that thing because they were kind of just sitting there. I didn't really look like they needed any help, but okay. They needed him to have that moment where he realized what kind of help he could be and that he didn't want to be vengeance. And I'm like,
and see,
but we didn't
Christopher
need
Nolan.
that. We didn't have to have that.
Christopher Nolan did that in a monologue. You know, Christian Bale straight up tell you, I could be more than I can be a symbol to give people hope. Like that is an ugly ass symbol. You could have chose something brighter and kinder. You out here looking like death.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, I think that was even kind of the point of what they were saying because it's like, you know, what are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance. And then, of course, like, who are you?
That didn't land well for me at all. When
actually like that worked really well in the trailer.
In the trailer, it was great, but in the movie, it did not land well.
But you know what? Surprisingly, you know what did work? When he, like, I don't know what kind of echo speaker thing he has on his shoes, but when my man walked, he got on like spurs and he is just heavy.
I was like, spurs on the boots?
Like that whole body armor thing that he wears, that thing is clearly heavy. And I think that's what makes him sound like that when he walks. But when he comes walking out of that shadow like he does, and he comes slinking in, sauntering in, I don't know if I'd stick around to see what this dude got to say.
Like, they just sitting in the shadows. But because it was kind of conflicting, because you know, he in that moment he's talking about they're looking in the shadows because that's where they think he is, and he's like, I am the shadow and all that. But at the same time, you roll up on the people, they didn't run away. They were like, look at this Joker. So it was just like, are they scared of you or are they not? You know. But of course, because of who they were and what they were wearing on their face, I guess they didn't really care. But it was just funny because he made that whole big deal about, you know, the guy that was spray painting. They see the symbol and then they all take off. But then they're like, nah, whatever. We don't care. Right. They listen to you walk up. You watch him beat up some of your friends and you still try to fight him.
Like, surround him. I mean, it's the same thing that, like, you know, why does this henchman think he's going to be the one to
Yeah.
defeat the hero? You know, like, oh, you might have took them out, but you hadn't fought me,
Yeah.
bro.
And
Did
then
you
they
just see the
dropped
10
home
people
about
I
him
walked
being
through?
new because then the guy he saves is like, please don't hurt me. And I'm like, you really thought that's why he was here? But then I have to remind myself, okay, 2 year Batman, 2 year Batman. And if you're watching the news, you're not understanding what his real purpose is. So,
Yeah,
okay, I get it.
because even the news is referring to him as crazed vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
Some people referring to him as the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a hyphenated thing, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and I don't even think he's decided himself what he's going to be called.
No.
The helmet piece was, you know, it was pretty.
I didn't
So
like the cow. I didn't like it.
the cowl itself, I couldn't tell if it was bulletproof or not, if it was leather, if it was rubber. I
I
don't
didn't
know,
like it. I
but he
didn't like
could
the
move in it.
ears.
That
Yeah.
was a plus. He could move in it.
Yeah.
Um, he clearly goes as far as to even, like, we see him put the makeup on before he puts the helmet, you know, the cowl on. Um, but I was okay with the rest of the suit. I was okay with the rest of the suit
It was very
being,
tactical. So, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see how he kind of gears up, and I like the grapple gun being available right there on like a spring launcher for his
Mm-hmm.
wrist. That made sense. It works for the character. Um, the flying squirrel bubble suit, I was digging that,
That was cute. Yeah.
the way that came out, and the parachute not quite working the way he wanted it to work. Um, I liked that we got to see the batarang here was actually, like, it was sharpened. It was a blade. It was
Mm-hmm.
tactical still. Like, everything on that outfit it had a purpose, and he looks like he was a one man army. You know what I'm saying? And he was pretty much equipped to do whatever, whenever. So I could see him, like, streamlining his gear down to the things that he truly needs,
Mm-hmm.
because he's walking around heavy for any possible scenario. And as he stays and remains Batman a little bit longer, he will shrink it down to just having the things that he needs all the time.
Yeah, they did very good to show this is what somebody who's just starting out as Batman, this is how they would look. He hasn't quite gotten it yet. So, but yeah.
But he moves pretty good in it, just regardless. So
Yeah,
I was good
it
with
did.
that. What were some of the other bads?
The runtime. The
Yeah,
runtime. It
yeah.
was too long. It was absolutely too long. And yes, I like the walking up scenes, but maybe we could cut some of those. A lot of scenes look like it was just for people to just be walking. We definitely could have just had a 2 hour movie. And it's not like me to check what time it is when I'm watching something, but I looked. I
Yeah.
definitely looked because I was like, what? How long is this?
I will say I went in knowing it was 3 hours.
Oh, I knew it. I still was like,
Are we at the third hour yet?
yes.
Well, I will say, like, I felt the movie was too long because I feel like they put too much in it. And like you
Yeah.
said, because they were trying to give him his, character revelation, they were doing that character building bit and having him go back, and the whole collapse of the bridge and that fight scene at the end, and him bringing the mayor first person he grabs as a little kid kind of thing. And he bonded with the kid so many times. I get all of that. That should have been the opening scene of the next movie. And we
Yeah.
call the next movie the Batman Arkham City. You know what I'm saying? And we go in, you start the movie off with that, and you take the little Easter egg for those who caught it, and how to, I mean, they were so obvious with it. Whatever, I don't know what's happening with that Joker's face, but you know what I'm saying? The Joker and the Riddler do a little team up and whatnot. The Joker breaks them out. They get out of Arkham, because everybody gets out of Arkham.
Everyone.
Um, you know what I'm saying? So they get out of Arkham, they go and team up, and now they have a new challenge. So you have the brains of the Riddler matched up with the psychotic anarchist chaos that is the Joker. These two matched up in a town, or in this city that's still flooded, under siege, martial law. You take everything that we got from The Dark Knight Rises with Bane, and you step it up and you improve it a little bit, and you throw something more menacing in the mix with a more grounded and realistic. And I think you got a great second movie, and you blew half the load for that in the end of this first one.
Yeah,
Which
it was too long. It
so
was too long.
we
It
did
was
need
too
that
long.
part.
And then by making it too long, one of my other bads was they kind of changed who the Riddler was, because you're on his side because you're like, I mean, he's not really wrong. And then it becomes, but why would you flood the city? You know, there's innocent people here, but you were okay with that. And then you're like, okay, well, they're trying to tie that in to show you, like, yeah, he was right, but we still got to remind you he crazy. And then we kind of had like a saw element to him, and I couldn't get away. Like, that was annoying me.
It was better when he was Zodiac, Son of Sam, when he was just a deranged serial killer, when we got like the Seven vibes. When he was a David Fincher villain, he was good.
Yeah.
The moment he crossed over into full Jigsaw, that's when they lost it. And that is right where they show him like really coming unraveled in Arkham. And it's the fact that it didn't go the way he expected to go when he met Batman in person. They do that just to show that his psyche is not really there.
Mm-hmm.
I think introducing a Joker in this world, in this cinematic world for the Batman, is a mistake. And if you really, truly, honestly wanted to do Joker, make it a psychotic analysis of his rogues gallery. You have a perfect character in the Riddler who already exhibits these psychotic breaks.
Mm-hmm.
He could incorporate all of the, like, let's come to find out that he's like an environmentalist. There's your poison ivy element. Let's show that this figment of his imagination that's talking to him isn't really there. There's your Two-Faced. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he goes on these little, when he snaps and gets extremely violent, that's the Joker. So let this one person, since they chose for him not to be Edward Nygma, it was like Edward Nash or something like that. Nashton.
That was weird for me too, but whatever.
I was like, you're right there on it. Why would you? Like, if you were going to do that, then at least let one of the aliases say Edward Nygma.
Yeah.
But Nashton? Okay. Then they brought up like having Easter eggs in movies just for fan service and for the sake of Easter eggs. If it doesn't really tie in or make it relevant, it bothers me, because you have Thomas Elliott on screen, but he's a reporter, not a doctor. Okay, cool. Change the story how you want. But then you throw Hush right across that. Like, okay,
so what? Yeah, I was like, huh?
We Easter egg and Hush,
but then nothing.
Okay. Right. Like, okay.
Okay.
And if you were going to do that, then you have the perfect character if you want to go that route by taking Edward Nashton, make him Edward Elliott. And now you have someone who's directly jealous of Bruce Wayne, as he showed. Like I said, they could have, the fact that they were so meticulous, Matt Reeves did a great job of humanizing this character, the Batman, and using him as a direct comparison / parallel to the Riddler really shows how, like, the Riddler would never have been the Riddler if he hadn't seen a vigilante on screen, if he hadn't been watching the news. So it was really that you created me. And of course, that's always been the argument. Dr. Hugo Strange basically said these super criminals come out because there's a superhero in place.
Oh, yeah, always.
You take Glass and any of, you know what I'm saying, all of that element is right there. So if you want to make it interesting, and like I said, since we had the dissect of Joker and now we have the dissect of Batman, maybe Arthur Fleck can intertwine, and that's where you get your real Joker element if you have to have Joker. But I think from a cinematic standpoint, if Two-Face, Riddler, Scarecrow,
Definitely Scarecrow, because they
the
still haven't done
Joker.
him justice at all.
If you can take these characters and let each one of them be Paul Dana, who continues to escape from Arkham and just reinvent himself each time because he is psychotic and these are different aspects of his psyche.
That's interesting. I'd watch that. I was actually disappointed. Part of me was excited with the Joker, but then I was disappointed because I'm like, that felt too easy.
So
You
easy.
you went there already, and I don't think you had to. You didn't have to
At
already.
all. At all. First of all, we don't need another Joker. We
No,
do not need another Joker. Period. Done. In period. I don't nothing else to say about that. So for them to even throw it in as an Easter egg, the only thing, and of course, this kind of ties into like the guys in the clown makeup at the beginning. If this is year 2 Batman, then that means in year 1 he must have put the Joker in Arkham.
mm-hmm.
That's why the Joker is there in Arkham.
Mm,
So now I'm like, to me, that makes that Joker much less menacing,
yeah, I don't care.
and it's completely unnecessary. Um, what were some other things that just
I
really
was like, I guess we're just gonna glaze over the facts that he watched Zoe get dressed. Like that creeped me out. That creeped me out when he was looking at her in her apartment. And I was like, you're not gonna look away a little bit? Like she's getting that. I don't know. I guess we're just in the Me Too movement of things. I was like, that just it felt a little bit too, she's in her underwear. That
very
just
stalkerish?
that didn't sit well with me. Like it took me a minute to kind of get away from that. I was like, did he really just sit there? Because
But
you
you know,
knew she was changing.
and the thing about that is, again, it just goes to show how that's no different from when we were looking through the perspective of the Riddler, who was watching the family when he
Hmm.
knew he was about to break and enter in the home
Yeah.
and attack. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is a very damaged individual who puts on a cowl and a cape and goes and beats up criminals.
Yeah.
So his mind ain't right either.
And then another thing I didn't like is as far as the scene in the movie where of course they just really weren't going to address the fact that he just was not going to pretend to be Bruce Wayne like at all. He did not care until it came time for the funeral, and even then it was just like this didn't even matter. But they had a weird scene with the accounting people coming, like, Alfred's like, you will do this, and then the lady comes in and says they're there, and then all of a sudden we jump to another scene. Like, we didn't need any of that. So
Yeah.
then I'm back to the runtime. We could have cut all of that out. We didn't see him interact with the accounting people. There was nothing brought up about the Wayne Foundation or the Wayne Enterprises or anything that would have been relevant for us
We
to
would have
hear about
gotten the
the meeting.
exact same feeling and effect when he went to the funeral,
Yeah,
because we got the exact same feeling and effect when he went to the funeral.
yeah. And that was all, and that was more relevant because that brought up the point, the mayor lady, Rial, you ain't giving up nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm glad somebody called him out on it. She's like,
You
you
could be
ain't
doing
got
a
no
lot
nothing,
more for the city, Mr. Wayne. Your family was known for their philanthropy.
and you ain't done nothing.
Where you been?
Like, how about put some more money into Arkham so people won't be escaping all the time?
That's number one. Like, bruh, just build a better jail. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
And if you really want to see these people get the help they need, the first thing you got to do is like keep them there.
yeah.
Keep them there. You do that,
It's a
that's half the
crazy thought.
battle. They
Just
can't rehab if they not there. Um, so that's the bad. What was is there a best thing, worst thing?
uh,
I'll let you ponder. For me, I think the best thing about this movie was seeing what a person who has not properly addressed traumatic things in their life, how they go about trying to do right because they have no God. Like they don't have a clear sense of right and wrong. And Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth was like, I failed you.
yep,
I did not know how to be a parent. I did the best I could. I didn't know how to help you. I could teach you how to fight, but I didn't know how to be there for you the way you needed.
yeah,
And it's almost like you built this, I can't say killing machine because he doesn't kill, but you created this monster and you unleashed this monster onto the city only to realize that maybe that wasn't the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated the realism. And I know that when we got the Nolan movies, those really tried to give you that possibility of this could be.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a very good job in comparison to a lot of other on-screen portrayals. But this sounds like something you would hear about on the news.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And that was, to me, was very, very impressive. And I think that makes this a different kind of Batman. They took all of the fantasy, like the term superhero doesn't exist here.
No.
It is just the Gotham vigilante. They call him the Batman. And I'm digging that. As a concept, I'm digging that. That to me is what makes this an entertaining movie. So
I can give you that.
Yeah, the worst. I'm with you. They could have cut some shit. It was long. They could have cut some shit. It was long.
I'm like looking at my notes, like, yeah. My best thing is, like I said, I think I appreciate telling a different story, for sure. And like you said, given that real Batman. This is the Batman people argue about when they argue about Batman and Superman and who would win. And this is the kind of Batman they're talking about. Like, how could he beat Superman? This one. They're talking about this one. So I can appreciate that. But,
yeah.
But my worst thing is, I don't know that we needed this story. Like, I didn't gain anything from it. I'm not excited for the next thing. I'll watch it because of course I have to, but it's nothing that I'm not as like when Christian Bale came out, I was excited about that Batman. I know a lot of people didn't like George Clooney, but I actually very much enjoyed his movies because it was very much Adam West, who is my ultimate favorite Batman. That's what made me fall in love with Batman. Movie-wise, of course, is Michael Keaton. I mean, just that darkness. Oh my goodness. But
see, I like that Keaton also had that. He showed that he was still unstable.
Yeah, very much.
You know what I'm saying? You want to get nuts? Come on.
Yeah, like
let's get nuts.
But I don't think we didn't need this. We didn't need another
I mean, and that's why I put this in the same category where the movie Joker is. We didn't need that movie. It was entertaining.
God, that was well done.
It was.
It was phenomenal, though.
But see, I think they had better source material.
Yeah.
I think using Joker and using the concept of One Bad Day, I think that works a lot better on the villain side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this is nothing more than just a character dissect of Bruce Wayne. And since it's still early in his trauma, you know what I'm saying? Like, granted, it's 20 years, but it wasn't like they died peacefully. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was taken from him. And he did not have anybody to properly raise him and help him. Alfred is literally like, I failed you.
Yeah.
I did not know how to, he didn't probably give him a hug for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't know what to do with this kid. He was the bodyguard who stuck around.
Yeah.
And so I think that element, it's there, and they tried to like go in depth with that, and it didn't work the same on a character that we already have such a connection to and are still always kind of looking for that fantasy element.
Yes.
Because one thing about Batman, I don't feel like this guy with prep time is doing any damage, but you're not finna run up on him either.
No, you're not. But they
and
also
if you was in the middle of robbing this bank,
making it so real, because this is not a Batman we can put with Superman.
No.
That's
There's
not
no
going to work. It's not going
Superman.
to work. It's not going to
There's no
translate.
Metropolis wherever
No,
this Gotham
no,
is.
it's not going to happen. It's not
And
going to happen.
that's fine. That's fine. I don't think that it's a big multiverse. And I don't think every universe has to have a corresponding Justice League
No, it
or
doesn't. And I hope it doesn't. I am excited about them doing the villains better because you're right. Like the way the Riddler was done, even though like there were some moments I kind of was like, eh. I'm hoping Scarecrow gets another shot because
yeah.
that's somebody that needs some screen time and done well.
And I think
And I
that
think
over
Cillian Murphy can still do it, but it just
bring him back. I'm
yeah.
with it. Bring him back. I'd love to see them go that route. And I think they could do a fantastic job. And I'm looking forward to that. Final score. Out of 10, where would you put it?
I'm gonna go with 6.
6. Okay. I was saying 8.5.
Okay.
8.5. Because I admittedly was honestly very entertained by it. And I sat, there were a few times I was literally sitting up in my seat, probably because like for 2 hours I had been leaning back and I just needed my blood to get flowing again. But no, seriously, there were times where I was just like very invested in what was happening. And I like when that happens in a movie. That to me is a good sign that they have my attention. And I spotted tons of stuff. If you made it to this point, make sure to check out everything right up until the end. Watch the full credits. There's a green question mark at the end. And if you're really, really fast, there's something there you can catch as well. If not, you can do what I do and hop on the internet and find it and
Just
see the
find it, yeah.
details. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I think for a movie overall, I could see like a 7.5, but just as for a Batman movie, for me, this is definitely a strong 6.
Fair
But it was
enough.
interesting enough for me to watch it again. I do want to watch it again for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff I would probably catch on a second viewing because I would be looking for it as opposed to being entertained and excited and giddy and kiddish because I'm watching a Batman movie. So I could sit back and be like, what did that say on the wall? What did those news headings say? Like I would be looking at
Yeah.
names of the people in the message boards. You know what I'm saying? I'd be trying to figure out the cipher a little sooner myself. And so, yeah, I would be more invested in picking the movie apart and less invested in being entertained by it. And I think that would probably make for more information to be gained from it.
Yes. And I might be able to appreciate it a little bit more. So that's why I said I'm definitely willing and I want to watch it again.
Cool. I will find another 3 hours at some point that I can put towards it. Might be when it comes out on video or DVD or something, or when I can catch it on streaming because it don't take movies no time these days. So who knows?
Nope.
But we are the Grown A Geeks. That was our in-depth review of The Batman. I think I hit all the points that I wanted to touch on. Yep.
I love that we still don't know who killed his parents. Like, Falcone, no Maroni, nobody knows. Okay, that's fine.
Maybe it was just a random mugger. Who knows? The point is they're dead and it didn't have to happen. But I mean that right there is one of those things that that's why he's so hard on all criminals because he never knows if that criminal's gonna be the one. It's kind of like that Spider-Man thing. The one villain that you let get away is the one that goes and shoots your Uncle Ben. See? So
Good point.
That's what it is. So he got to make sure he stops everybody. For the Grown A Geeks, I am Sam. That is Dunesia. Be sure to hit that QR code up in the corner. Join us. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, leave any comments down below. Let us know what you thought. Give us your score and find us next time when we, what do we have coming up? We got some interesting stuff coming up. You know what? We have Why Did I Watch That coming up?
We do have Why Did I Watch That.
We have Why Did I Watch That? And we've also got another episode of Therapy coming up. I think Wonder Woman. Yeah. Wonder Woman was on the couch. And after that, we might even get to like the Justice League all together. So that's what we got coming up. But that's going to be it for today. I'm Sam. That's Dunesia. We're Grown A Geeks, and we are out.